Okay, welcome to a very monumental part of knitting your sweater, and that is separating the sleeves from the body. Once you have knit the yoke section, the top part, to the length that the pattern calls for, you're then going to get to the separation of the sleeves and the body. And how that has worked is, I'm going to just get to the end of my row. I'm going to take off my beginning of round stitch marker, just set it aside. We're going to put it back on at the end. And the first set of instructions is to transfer a certain amount of stitches to a holder. So I use these clover stitch holders, but if you have a tapestry needle and some scrap yarn, some ribbon, anything will work that will just hold the stitches. So you're going to just take whatever you're using, whether that's a piece of yarn with a tapestry needle or a stitch holder, and you're going to just transfer them without twisting them. So you're just moving them from one to the other. I'm not going in like I'm knitting and moving it over, okay? I'm just transferring it from one to the other. And you're gonna do all the stitches that it says in your pattern, so you can just count every so often. Okay, so transfer those over to your holder. Okay, I have transferred all my stitches for the first sleeve onto my holder. I just like to kind of close it up like this. If you're using yarn, you can either leave a really long tail on each side or tie a knot, okay? To just keep those hanging out there. All right, so then we're not touching those for a really long time. So just set that aside and now get back to your 2 needles. Your working yarn is going to be on your right hand needle, and then we have our left hand needle here. And what we're going to do now is cast on stitches for the underarm. So we're going to use the backwards loop method like the pattern calls for, and that's a little different than how we cast on the sweater. So that looks like this. I'm gonna just, again, leave all that to the side and just work with my right hand needle. I'm gonna put the yarn behind my pinky and I'm gonna wrap my thumb around it and then scoop. So that was 1. So you want it to cross like that. And then you're coming in there and scooping. And I'm not pulling this too tight. Scoop. Scoop. So if I were to do the motion more with this needle, it looks like that. Make sure you get in the part that's closest to your thumb. Okay, so do the amount of underarm stitches that your pattern calls for. And then what we're going to do is we're just going to move our yarn to the back, make sure that our underarm stitches are not twisted. And then we're just going to start knitting right into, so we're pretending that the sleeves don't exist right now, and we're just going to knit right into the first stitch on your left hand needle. Oops. And make sure that our yarn is in the right spot. So here, grab my yarn from behind and knit. So what that does is it just connected the back body underarm stitches to the front body, and then we have a sleeve here. So now what you're going to do is you're going to knit the amount of stitches that it says for the front body, and then we're just going to repeat the exact same thing. I will just get there and then show you again, but just to give us an idea of where we're headed, if I flip my knitting around, you can see, okay, this is going to be a sleeve, and then now we're working to make the body section. Okay, I have now knit the amount of stitches that the pattern calls for my front body, and I'm now ready to transfer the stitches for the second sleeve. That's going to look the exact same way. So I'm going to look at how many stitches it says to on my pattern. I'm going to get my stitch holder or my yarn, and I'm just going to transfer those over. When those are all transferred, you're going to just put those aside and do the exact same thing that we did for the first side, which means we're going to cast on the underarm stitches. And then we are going to just start knitting. I give it a little tug on that first and second stitch, just to make sure that it's a nice join. Okay, now all that's left is to knit the back body. So we're going to knit to this first join, and we're going to put our beginning of round marker. I am approaching the first join that we did. You also could have just kept your beginning of round marker on and just been very watchful of it to make sure that it didn't fall off, but that's my last stitch. You can tell because it's connected. And then I'm just going to put my beginning of round marker, and then we're just going to knit this row, and it's pretty smooth sailing from here on out. These underarm stitches can get a little tricky to knit because they can get tight, but you just knit them normal. And what I like to do is I like to keep my needles, when I'm finished the stitch, I like to keep my needles as close together as possible, because if I start pulling them apart, the stitches will get even tighter, and they do have a bit of give, so it is easy to kind of accidentally tighten them too much. But let me just show you getting across here. All right, now just knit away on the body and I will show you how to bind off.